Okay, on today's video, we're going to cover how not to get screwed up by or screwed by smart bidding and doing PPC advertising for your brand, your company, whatever. So everybody's probably that's watching this has heard about smart bidding. There's actually several types of smart bidding. There's CPA bidding, there's enhanced manual bidding, just call it that. And for a lot of people, when they get started their advertising or they've been advertising for a while, maybe they talked to a Google rep that suggested one thing or another, by the way, to them. They're still just baffled which ones they should use. More and more, as time goes on, Google's systems are actually learning how to do smart bidding that they're offering itself better, as is other ad networks. They're using AI, machine learning systems, to be able to take some of the heavy lifting out of PPC. Now, regardless of how much it would be nice that we could start a business and tell Google, hey, here's my credit card, get me sales and profit. It's not going to be that simple. And even if it was, Google would simply raise their prices, of course, and they'd charge more to the point where not everybody would be able to afford it, except for the people that are the most efficient. And this is the system that we have. So anyway, though, the smart bidding, you're going to have to, still to this day, I only use enhanced CPC bidding. I don't get into the super automated stuff because I actually want to put the work in. If you do no work, perhaps, and you have time to make things work longer than usual, you can get into like the CPA bidding or ROAS bidding. And the system will do more testing on its own to eventually find out how to run your ads. If you're more ambitious, you can use my other videos to learn how to take manual or enhanced CPC bidding, which I don't really recommend regular manual bidding anymore. You can adjust your bids on time of the day of the week, what state the user's from, what city they're from, and go up and down in your bids instead of just letting the algorithm do what it wants. Because the algorithm, let's face it, is a little bit obviously going to be, it's programmed by people who work for a company who want that to work for them, not for you, the advertiser, so much. Even though they need you to make money to have them make money, at the same time, you're not perfectly aligned there, as is, you shouldn't expect it to be. With all that said, with it is what it is, you can actually get the system working for you and work with the system so that you will make money along with them versus having what their system is designed to do to kind of go off on its own and then leave you in the dust. And that's what this video is about. So you can have Google take on, or Bing or Facebook. Well, we'll just talk about Google and Bing here to keep it simple here. Do most of the work for your search engine advertising for you, or Google Display Network even, where you could focus on other things, which is what I'm going to talk about today. But to do that, you have to do certain things in order to not be screwed by that system and have the system which is designed to help them, because it's their company, so there's nothing against that. Don't attack me, Google. So that what you just inherently understand what they're trying to do, and then set your business up to be aligned with that instead of there being a misalignment, you not making any money, somebody else takes advantage of the system. Not only spending less time doing the monotony of PPC, but also just what it's all about, making money. So time is only one small factor to this. The bigger factor is making money, and with automation being offering a bigger and bigger advantage to PPC, because there's certain things that Google through their AI can understand about consumers and how they behave, and matching you up with the type of customers that you want without beyond what you can as a human do. There's a way to set yourself up to take full advantage of that, and that's what I'm talking about here. That's going to be able to put you in that top 20% who make most of the money in PPC in your market and stay ahead of everybody else. And respectively, not everybody makes money with PPC, so you have to be in that 20% respectively to expect to make a lot of money, okay? We can only adjust, so far, and this automated bidding, again, will essentially give us an advantage, assuming that we're well aligned with it, with how we set up our ads and our business here, to get out in front of and be the front of the line after or in front of everybody else so that we can afford the traffic and nobody else can, and we want to actually, and we can get enough efficiency and sales for what we're spending to be able to reinvest back in the system and eventually hog most of the customers, and whereas everybody else saying, I don't think PPC works. So to do that, this is how you're going to be able to align with the system and make a whole pile of money be at the same time while doing it. So you put effort in, but it's all to make money at the end of the day. So anyway, getting into it, despite the title of my past videos, I'm not against smart bidding. If you're going to, again, be proactive, I still would recommend enhanced CPC bidding and doing manual bid adjustments on a quarterly basis because I can get better results that way. And primarily because short term, my clients won't go broke, letting the system try every which way and then eventually coming to the conclusion of what works. But if, either way, and again, like in the future, this, I'd say by 2025 to 2030 in that time frame, smart bidding is just going to be such a big factor that the way to win in PPC will be something else besides just what I mentioned there. Eventually it'll happen, okay? But whether it's now or later that you do it, you just got to do it right if you expect it to work and have the way that the system's set up to help itself help you at the same time, like I was talking about before. You're working with the algorithm / system that Google has, not against it. Working with it, you make money. Not working with it, or in other words, working against it because you're being passive, you don't make money. Basically, simply put, as simple as that, okay? Or it's going to take so long to make money, like I was saying before, it's going to have to try running your ads every which way that you'll go broke first, unless you're a mega company who can afford to lose 100 grand before the ads ever work, that kind of situation. And I'm not embellishing about this. Go ahead and talk to some other people on Reddit, whatever. They'll tell you, what I'm telling you here. If it was as easy as sliding in your credit card and sales coming out with no setup time, well, somebody in your market would already be doing it. So anyway, like a computer program, which ad programs like Google Ads' system is, by the way, it's a computer program, which is another, AI is a computer program at the end of the day. What you put in, like people have heard and know about, and so I'll refer to it as a computer program, if you're going to put garbage in, you're going to get garbage out, or conversely, another way to say this is to say quality in. You put quality into the program that Google has that is set up to try to help you if you want to help yourself. You put quality into the system, you're going to get cash out. Your choice whether you're going to get the cash out or you're not going to get the cash out. So it's not that complicated to do this, but you do have to actually get off your butt and do a few things. There's many types of smart bidding, as I mentioned before, but here is what I see, regardless of what bidding strategy you have, semi-automated, fully automated, that 90%, literally speaking, of people are actually doing that's screwing them up, and that I see all the time. And I've audited probably 500 to 1,000 accounts over the last 7 years or so. And I've seen this progression, what people do, the ones that get it to work, or get automated bidding to work versus not. There's some key things that people do that screw it up and why they say Google Ads don't work or whatever. The first of which is using an internal person to install the tracking. So going back to what I said here, garbage in, garbage out. An AI system and machine learning is all what they call goal-oriented. The system is trying to, as efficiently as possible, get to some goal. And the computer doesn't have a mind of its own, so it has to have a goal. So if you're expecting to use this automation and not have a clearly defined goal set up, well, you're basically just pissing into the wind here, as they say it. So tracking is kind of tricky. It's not rocket science to set up right anyway. But I see people, they'll just have, hey, Johnny, I know you're the IT guy, but set up this tracking for me. For somebody to have to basically have zero experience and then go ahead and set that up perfectly, people screw that up all the time. And I mean all the time. It's worth it to go pay, if you have to, go spend 3, 4, 5 grand just to set up your tracking the right way. Go to a firm, because if you go to a firm and say set up my tracking and you'll pay them $500, they don't give a crap. I can tell you in our industry, people don't care about making $500. They want to make $5 to $50 to $500 grand. And if you do that $500 thing and you're going to leave, it seems like a lot of money to you, but they don't care. They'll just move on. You're basically getting in the way to find the guy who actually does want full management. So you could go to an ad agency and say, what will you, and one that you can trust, I guess, and what will you charge me to set up goals for my account? And they'll probably, just because I'm just telling you this in advance, if they're going to do it, they're going to charge you a crap load of money for it to be worth their time because of what I said. They might say $5,000. I can tell you it's worth it still. May not, obvious. Everybody wants what they're doing, this PPC stuff, anyway, that ones that fail, let's just put it that way, generally speaking, they want it to work right away. This is a process, and you've got to have investment into the process, just like if you're going to start a store. You can't be like, I want my bricks that I'm building the walls with to have a return for me before I build the rest of the walls. Like, I try to tell people this all the time, but they just seem to think that this is a light switch. Ads on, boop, all right, I'm making money. Okay, I got enough customers, boop, off. Again, if you could do this, somebody else would have done it. And this is, it was like in 2007 this way. Guess what? That's over with. Not coming back. So you set up the tracking with somebody who has experience setting up hundreds of other tracking before, so they know where the possible fault points are. They can advise you also what is the most ideal version, because there's several different ways to do it. And they could say you want, from the firm, I want not only goal tracking, but I want somebody that's experienced who will be able to advise me on not just the way to do it, but the best way to do it, and is guaranteed to work. And just pay the price. If you're going to do smart bidding and you're not going to do active management, just consider it money you're going to save down the road, basically speaking. So they'll hire an internal person, they don't know what they're doing, or they'll hire a crappy firm, they don't know what they're doing. Most firms can't do this right, and I don't know why people say that they're a PPC firm and can't hook up tracking right, but I promise you this is common. So take my word for it. Don't go and try to take a shortcut with this. It's trickier than you think. And with all that said, obviously Google provides some of this, but just as a side thing, again, don't tack me, Google. You're better off going to a firm that can give you full service on it. Again, because there's more than one way to do it, and it's more involved than you think. Anyway, second, they're not isolating their landing pages. So landing page is where you take the user to after they click on the ad. So what will happen when you start doing PPC, people more often than not will wing it. They'll say, I'll try to run the ads and we'll see what happens. And you ask them, what kind of results are you looking for? I don't know. You're not going to be able to make it work and justify doing it if that's what you do, because you're dealing with small margins here. You got to know your numbers going in, and you got to know when you're making progress towards it. Otherwise, you're going to get in 3 months, you're going to go, my bank account isn't exploding. This isn't working. Click off. That's what most people are doing, as stupid as it sounds. But because they're not thinking long term, and they're not looking at this as, I don't care what I have to do to make this work, I am going to make it work, like it's a life or death situation. You go into it doing everything as good as you can. You're going to think about not if I'm going to be doing this 5 years from now, but I am. And to think about where they're going to send the pages to, instead of just sending them to a random page on your site. Most people know that you have to have a landing page now. Not everybody does that. But so even if they do have a landing page, to send people to a certain page on the site that's just used for other stuff. And then they'll go and upgrade their website 2-3 years down the road. The landing pages get overwritten. Or, here's another funny one. The site gets hacked from malware. They have to do a restore, okay? Then they erase some of the landing pages or the tracking involved with the landing pages. I almost force our clients here to use unbounce. Why? Because I can put the landing pages on a subdomain, and I don't care if a nuclear bomb lands on their site. That campaign is not going to have any downtime, which is it's an insurance for your PPC. So you could have a dedicated experience for users that you can optimize just for PPC, because PPC people are different than organic traffic. They want to see different things, or basically they'll convert more if you give a different experience for different traffic sources. People don't think about this because they're lazy or whatever. And so, but the main thing is, once you set up this system for your PPC and it's working, you don't want it to fall apart. And there's many times that the people managing your site, the firm managing your site, people make mistakes. This stuff's not as easy as you think. Stuff gets overwritten. There's conflicts. Invest in getting a separate system set up just for your landing pages. And then kind of beyond that, the next thing they'll do is they're not auditing that tracking. So assuming they set it up, even if you do have separate pages, but especially if you don't, okay, you set up your tracking. It works today. It doesn't work 6 months from now because the IT person they hired that's crappy to make changes on their site because they're trying to cheap it, makes a change, breaks something over here. Now this is common. I have a video about hiring cheap programmers where I've seen people screw up and destroy the entire business because something gets broken, they don't know why it's broken, it stays broken for long enough to where they've lost so much money they can't recover. So stuff like that can then affect the tracking, okay? Now, what happens then? Your tracking's been screwed up for months before you figured it out. Well, the smart bidding is based upon the tracking. And the goal, you have a goal set up that you're supposed to get a sale or a lead or whatever, quality lead, whatever you have, and I'll talk about this in a moment. This tracking screwed up for 4 months. Now the system has 4 months of crap data in there, okay? You had 2 years worth of data that was clean. Now you have 4 months worth of with crappy data in there. You think that they're going to figure this out. This is a dumb, as smart as AI is today even, the computer is dumb. You feed in a bunch of junk, crappy traffic data into their system that thought they had it figured out. They don't know your tracking was screwed up. They don't know what they don't know. And there's no way to say, during this 4-month period, it was screwed. Technically, there is, I won't get into that, but for the most part, you get my point here. So anyway, going back to what I said before, you need to audit your tracking on a regular basis to make sure it's not broken. You cannot expect you're going to set up the tracking and 5 years from now, it's working without question. It's stupid. It's just like if you have a car, you're not going to be able to expect that it doesn't need a tune-up. Well, that's not a good analogy. It's like hiring an employee. Okay, you're hired. You know what to do? I'm going to come back 5 years from now and check on you. Why would you do this? All your IT systems, yes, everybody loves automation, but that stuff, the more of it you have, the more fault points you have, you got to audit this stuff because it breaks all the time. Or not all the time, but when it breaks, you can't have it break and not notice it. That's the bigger thing. Specifically with this, because you're going to feed crap data into your campaigns, in which your campaigns, once you find and fix it, it's too late. Your campaigns are now forever going to run crappy because of that data that's in there. If this happens to you again, by the way, there's a way that you could say that the traffic was broken, the data was broken during this period and this period. Google had that some time ago, so you might want to look that up if it's you or whatever happens to you, just so you know you got that in your back pocket. The other thing that people do, that why the smart bidding won't work right for them, and they're not working with the system, they're not providing a custom experience just for PPC users, so this is similar to number 2. So I recommend creating a landing page that's just for PPC so that you have insurance that your campaigns are never going to go down, no matter what somebody does on your main site to maintain it. But, and like I was touching on before, a PPC user, if they click on the ad, they're expecting, I want to buy now, do not waste my time. On an organic click, they want to invest more time in research. So you can't provide something that's too aggressive for them and they get turned off. which somebody who's ready to buy, they want an aggressive page. So if you're trying to send all traffic sources to one single page, no matter what, you're going to have something that's unideal for these PPC users. And when your competition has something that is separated out and made just for PPC users, which is aggressive, it's generally more aggressive, you're setting yourself up to not be able to win, basically, because the landing page experience is 50 to 70% of the equation, whether or not you ever make money or how much you eventually make. So the algorithm is trying to find you where customers are at a level of return where you can pay for your expenses and have money left over. So if you're providing a crap page that only gets half the conversions because you're too lazy to make an aggressive page just for your PPC, which should have its own page or pages, well then you've basically neutered half of the potential demand for that campaign, but it's more than that. Because if you don't go so far with your campaigns and setting things up for success, for the smart bidding to find you the customers, it just won't make any money at all. You'll get 6 months into it, you'll say, why isn't it working? And then you'll just stop. You got to go into thinking, I'm going to do everything as best as I can if you're going to be the one in the top 20% that makes most of the money, because that's what the top 20% do. They just outwork. They have knowledge, but the more so is just, are you willing to put the work in? And that requires a dedicated strategy just for PPC. You're not saying, well, we did this over here, we'll just use this for this, and we'll get it. Okay, well, don't complain if you do that. It doesn't ever make money. You wasted 20 grand on PPC and you say, PPC doesn't work. So, enough with that nonsense. So anyway, what are some tips to be able to make smart bidding work for you so you don't have these problems, but also just in general, what's some general ideas that instead of maybe you'll get results with smart bidding, you will get results with smart bidding, assuming you have a product that's not crappy, that's in demand, it's sellable, that kind of stuff. Instead of being reactive, and the other thing that kills people is they're reactive about their PPC. Oh, I'm not going to worry about it unless it stops working, okay? Well, you got people that are trying to take a bite out of your butt all the time with these PPC ads. You can't just be reactive. You got to be proactive. You got to constantly, if you're making money, you're trying to make more to stay out ahead of the game. And you're trying to put distance between you and everybody else. So if they even try to take what you have, good luck. Instead of being reactive, what you should be doing is setting up a system for ongoing measured improvement. So the algorithm is trying to find you a customer, right? But it goes more than that. It's trying to constantly figure out who should be getting most of the customers. And if you show the algorithm that you could convert one of their users into a customer more efficiently than somebody else, guess what? They want to send more customers and then more customers and more customers to you. If they could completely bankrupt 3 of their advertisers and send all their customers to you because you're serving the user 50% better than them, they want to do it. And it's nothing against, this is capitalism, baby. You can't complain that Google wants to set up and make people want to use their search engine, okay? So you can use it to your advantage or not. But in order to do this, okay, some quick steps with the smart bidding, if you're going to do it now, later, whatever, to get that to where you're working with Google, you're working with their system, you're working with their AI system to have it work to your advantage so you end up on top basically every single time you do this. 1, set up not good, but the best possible tracking you can. Okay, so if you are an e-commerce site, of course, bare minimum, you got to have revenue data as you're tracking so that your smart bidding can see how much ROI you have on each part of your campaign and optimize for that. Okay, you're going to that's what your goal is basically with that. Not so much that you have to do ROAS bidding, but just the standpoint of you need, regardless of what you use for a bidding option, you need to be able to track the revenues that you have coming through the cart, and it has to work perfectly, okay? Not kind of perfectly, perfectly. Because that's, a lot of people in your market will be, not a lot, but there will be people doing that, and you don't want to have to set yourself up for that inefficiency right out the gate, which is a big one. So, but more than that, if more than 10% of your people buy through the phone, you have a virtual terminal where you can take a credit card over the phone, you need to feed in your revenue data from offline conversions as well. Or a lot of people, for instance, will sell through a request for quote process. They call up on the bigger orders, they send a quote through, and they'll send it in a wire, whatever. Okay. Those what they call offline conversions. You got to use an offline conversion tracking process to import the sales that don't occur through the cart into your system, so they also know about them. Because the better quality data you have, the better you will do. And so, what do you think happens when Google has the other missing half of the sales you get through the phone, because the bigger orders come through the phone, and they don't have that data coming in, and your competition doesn't have that, and you have it now? The algorithm wants to promote your stuff, okay? For a lead generation campaign, you want to track phone calls and form fills. You want to track all the forms on your landing page and the phone numbers on your landing page. You also want to track them on your main site, because roughly 10% or so of the people will go to your landing page and then they'll go to your site because they want to investigate you further. They're more inquisitive type. So you've got to have all your tracking set up there for your phone and your forms as well. And you got to have that piping into your account should be your base level minimum standard here, okay? If you have a local business where people normally come in, you should do more to be able to get more, have some data, more data than you have. And instead of just expecting them to come in, have a button for get driving directions. Have a button for find out some way that they can interact with the page. Obviously, they could hit contact us. You have that, a phone number, you have that. The driving directions example is just another way to get a little bit more data in terms of if let's say only 10% of people call or fill out the form, what are ways that we can get the user to interact with the page that when they do, we know that person's at least 3 times more likely to come to our store and buy. So you get my kind of viewpoint here. And this is why if you work with an ad agency, they can help you. They've done this before for other people. They can give you those ideas. And you feed that data in. You have to have a way that where you can definitively tell, let's just say most of the time, more than 50% of the time, that person was going to buy or likely to buy in order for the smart bidding to do what it's supposed to do here. So, but anyway, for lead generation campaigns, you go further, if you can going back to the offline conversion tracking, you track whether or not that lead turns into a sale, and you put that back into your account and you use that to guide your ads. Once you have at least 1,000 sales, sometimes you can't get that data, you can't do it. If you don't have enough sales, then you will score the lead between 1 and 10, and then you can use that to guide your bidding and your campaigns specifically, because the 80-20 rule applies to these campaigns. 80% of the leads are only generating 20% of the money, and 20% of the campaigns leads, I should say, the leads from those campaigns, 20% of those leads are producing 80% of the revenue. And so if the algorithms they only can see what produces a lead, and you're going to get the algorithm is going to keep pushing more of what your competition doesn't want. So if they know a certain lead provides low return, they block it. Now you're sucking up, the algorithm's sucking, it's self-motivated. It wants to take the inventory and sell it if it can. Now it's pushing more and more and more to you. Now you're getting all these crap leads, you don't know why. So the closer you can get to sale with your lead tracking and then import that into your account, the better it is. And this stuff gets kind of tricky. It's not tricky for someone that is in the business, so that's why you can't rely on an internal person and hope and pray that they do it right. But that's what I would recommend, either the sale, and when I say sale, you should pipe in the revenue data or predicted or assumed future contract or revenue data into the account and use that to guide the account, or the lead score if you don't have like 1,000 sales that you predict within a within 12 months to come through. You at least have that guiding versus did it produce a lead or did it not? Because lead quality is very variable. So anyway, that's not just good, but the best possible. 2, set up a process that audits the tracking regularly. Our firm, every month for our clients, we're auditing every single thing that I just mentioned that we would track. We're setting it up the best way, but then also we're testing it, filling out the form, make sure the form lead comes through. By the way, a lot of people don't even know that the forms break at a certain time because they set up things like spam blockers, and then they almost go broke because of that. Got to test the form works, test the phone works, test to make sure the conversion comes through, and you got to do it every month. You could do it every week if you wanted to, but that's a little bit insane. And people get irritated sometimes and they say, well, I don't want all these junk leads coming through. You also don't want your tracking to break for 6 months and don't know it, okay? This is a pick what you want here, basically. The worst of the two evils, if you will. 3, split test the traffic for each ad group. So once you've done you set the algorithm up to know what it's supposed to do and how it's supposed to do it, and you've put an iron fence around what you're doing so that 5 years from now there's not going to be any gaps in the data and learning process for them. Each ad group you split test and you try to set up it with a better and better landing page that's going to get a higher and higher conversion rate all the time. It'll find higher conversion rates on its own, and if you don't have it now, I'm going to set up an ad group for every keyword and every audience that I'm targeting. Why? Because then I could take a landing page and I could create a mirror copy of that landing page, and I could try to optimize that landing page a little bit better than the original landing page for that keyword. And if you want a quick tip on that, if you take the keyword and you handwrite a headline that matches that keyword better, you'll get about a 40% like clockwork increase in your amount of leads that you're going to get from that page because you've optimized it that way. In e-commerce, it's the same way, by the way. You don't have to just send people to a product page. Send people to a product page where the key for the headline of the title of the product changes a little bit. There's nothing wrong about that. You can send them to a category page where the headline on the category page says more so what the keyword is. So again, your goal is to have each ad group is designed really so that ad group can be sending people on to one place so that you basically can have a landing page for each traffic source that you have, basically, okay? So in other words, the average person that you're going against is going to have a bunch of keywords in one ad group, and they're going to try to have one landing page optimized for all of them, which is, you can't do it. It's just simply put, you can't do it. Whereas if you get each keyword a special landing page, you'll get a lot more, and the algorithm realizes now you have something that's more efficient than the competition. Now they start wanting to shovel on more and more traffic to your campaigns. You're looking for that edge, and that's just a simple one that works basically 90% of the time because people are lazy. Going further, the last one here, you're going to keep subsegmenting the ad groups more and more. So once you've actually gotten to the level to where you have an ad group for every keyword, by the way, then you could go further. You could take that campaign that you have that's working, you have a landing page for each keyword, right? Well, we'll have one campaign for male. So basically we're going to make a mirror copy of that campaign that we have. And then we're going to have that one campaign just target male, one just target female. Okay? And all of our landing pages, so we'll have a landing page for each keyword from our previous work. And so we'll have 40 landing pages for all 40 keywords in that campaign. Well, that landing page now, instead of having a girl at the top, we're going to have a guy at the top. And we'll find out that a guy versus a girl works better, for people that are a guy or a girl. Okay? And so that's going to help yourself get more conversion rate. And the higher you can optimize what they call based upon user personas, the more the algorithm is going to be able to do for you. You can't expect them to do it all on their own. They'll do a lot for you, but the more work you do, just like I just mentioned here, the better you'll do. And if you're saving time with the smart bidding, now you can invest it in just what I described to you to make the on-site experience better. Make this on-site experience better. Not only that, if you have a campaign that's just targeting male now, and you have an ad group for every keyword, well, guess what? Your ad can match the keyword now. Your landing page headline can match the keyword. You have those two things, which is going to give you the edge on everybody else, basically, because when somebody types in a keyword and they're trying to figure out which of the 4 ads they should click on, and you've got a perfectly written headline for that keyword, they click on your ad more, so therefore they want to send more traffic to you. And then the other half of the equation is, did somebody come back to Google? Did you bait and switch them? And no, because right when they got to your page, right away at the headline they saw, you have a perfectly written headline that makes sure the user knows they're at the right place, which is mirrored off the keyword as well. And the algorithm just loves what you have and they'll send more and more and more traffic to you, like I said, okay? So you're just basically simply giving the algorithm better and better stuff to promote all the time. And that's what this is about, okay? So I think you get the idea. We're going to get less away from, technical changes in our PPC, more into let's figure out, like the old-fashioned marketing always used to be, better ad copywriting, better landing page copywriting, understanding market research and how user psychology works to know what they want to see from us when we pitch it to them, and giving the algorithm what we can figure out and learn about our consumers to the algorithm, so the algorithm could push it in front of the people that they have and want to prefer to push it to those people because it makes Google more money than anybody else as well as you. So you see the full circle here. We're aligning ourselves with the algorithm. What they want is now what we want, and we're both benefiting at the same time versus it working against us, not knowing how to promote your stuff because it's just still a stupid computer program at the end of the day. And also, because it's stupid and only has so much to go on, it just starts sending more traffic to the competitor. All the best traffic goes to the competitor. You keep getting crappier and crappier results all the time. They keep getting better and better. What side of the equation you end up on is up to you. So going back to your goal is to work with the algorithm/system, not against it. And if you work against it, you won't make any at all or little. You work with it, you'll make millions long term. Okay, once you've had years to optimize the ads, they've went through and figured out through their machine learning algorithm what you gave them is the thing to promote in the market to those type of customers. They found out not only the perfect way of running it to the customers they have, but also that you have the best ads, so they reward you with a lower cost per click, and that they send most of the best people to you. Whereas before, the best customers were going to somebody else. They slowly tested out what you have. They found it was the best. Now they're really pouring everything on you. Because you did all the prep work, now you get all the spoils. Okay. So anyway, that's everything about smart bidding. How not to get screwed by smart bidding and PPC. How to have the algorithm work for you to your advantage versus somebody else's. If you like this video, I have a ton of other videos on this channel about other PPC strategies. You can check those out. And find out other ways to make money with your PPC. I have a blog at guaranteeppc.com/blog, with actual step-by-step instructions on how to build campaigns that make money if you prefer to see information along those lines instead and as well. If you have any questions or comments, leave me a comment down below. Anything you think I should have covered and did it, or questions about what I said. I get back to every single person within a day or two. But I hope you enjoyed the video entertainment-wise and got some value out of this so that you're going to be able to make the smart bidding work for you and end up making a lot of money from your campaigns for your business, for yourself, and long term.